What's up, guys? After a lot of requests, I finally decided to try and put together a full comprehensive guide, or intro rather, to Striker. This video is going to focus on introducing players to the Striker class and guide them on what to do. What is Striker like? How do I play the Striker? What can I expect from playing this class? Where do I begin? What do I need to know? My goal with this video is to answer all of those questions so that anyone that wants to try out Striker has a guide to do so. So let's go over some of the pros and cons. Starting with the pros, we have number 1, burst damage, number 2, mid-range mobility, number 3, access to super armor, number 4, super armor burst, meaning burst is immune to all CC except for grab, and number 5, tanky. And for the cons, we have number 1, slower and clunkier, especially when compared to other classes. Number 2, telegraphed skills. Number 3, predictable to fight against, pretty easy to read. Number 4, holes in the super armor are very punishable due to the slower and more telegraphed skills. And number 5, a lack of iframes, meaning they're prone to taking trade damage. Next, let's talk about the builds. I want to quickly mention that some of the information in this video, including the following builds, are coming straight from the official Striker Discord. I would highly recommend anyone that is trying to learn how to play Striker to join this community, as you'll find everything you need in there. Info regarding the Discord will be at the end of the video. The first build you're looking at here is the full AP build. The focus here is to try and stack as much AP as possible. This build is focusing on maximum AP, so that's why we are going with Ofintet here. It is okay to swap the Ofintet out with Zarka for extra accuracy, as you will lose 3 AP but gain 18 accuracy instead. Do take note that there are AP brackets in this game, and once you hit 245 AP, you need 4 additional AP to reach the next bracket all the way up until 309. Each bracket will give you a different amount of AP, and you can see according to this chart that between 253 and 269, the brackets between those AP values give you the biggest AP gains. Once you're around that mid 250 range with your AP, it becomes increasingly difficult to gain any more AP, and it will cost you millions and millions, billions of silver just to get more AP. The helmet is also another thing that you can swap out. Right now we're set to Griffin. You can swap that out for Gaiath. The difference between these two helmets is that Griffin gives you an additional 6 damage reduction, while Gaiath gives you 100 HP. For the boots, we want to go Uragons over Muskins, because Uragons will give you the extra damage reduction versus Evasion, and if you are going full AP build, you want to try and stack as much damage reduction as possible. In my personal opinion, in theory, the end game of BDO, the full AP build, is definitely the best, but that is assuming that all your armors are at 10, all of your Caphras are somewhere between Caphras level 10 to 20. If we are talking about end game, then we're talking about Caphras level 20, as well as pen gear, and at that point, full pen, full AP build would definitely be best in slot, because you would essentially be a walking raid boss that hits like an absolute truck, but will not be able to be one comboed by other players. But this is also at the same time kind of an unrealistic expectation, considering how difficult it is just to get a pen item, let alone full pen, as well as the Caphras on top. The next build here is the hybrid Evasion build. Strikers are one of, if not the best class to play for hybrid Evasion builds, because they do not need a lot of AP in order to one combo someone. The biggest issue with Evasion builds is that you have to give up so much AP to reach that threshold. You want at least 700 Evasion if you want to play an Evasion build effectively. Now, it's very difficult, again, to stack AP when you're trying to stack that much Evasion. The reason why Strikers can play Evasion builds effectively is because they do not need as much AP as compared to the other classes. Let me show you an example of what I'm talking about. Here's a full combo at 200 AP against a soft cap Kunoichi that is level 62. FYI, the sliding around that you're seeing there is just desync. Now here's another full combo at 214 AP against a tankier target, which is a striker with soft cap DP. As a striker, if you want to be able to one combo anyone at soft cap, the goal is to have 220 DP. As you can see, you can one combo some of the squishier targets with less than that. This evasion build is going to give you 204 AP, 207 awakening AP, while giving you an extreme amount of tankiness through DP and evasion. The last build here is the full DP build. Personally, I'm not a big fan of this build just because of the amount of AP that you lose out of just stacking DP for absolutely everything. However, if you're okay with not ever being able to kill anything and you just want to be tanky as fuck, then, well, I suppose you could try this build. Strikers are one of the best at cycling super armors and staying protected. So the first thing that we want to learn is the most important part of Striker, the thing that you want to master first, the very staple of Striker, which is the super armor rotation, or cycling your super armors and your protected skills. First up, we have mass destruction. This is a protected stun. It's important to know that there is a hole at the very beginning, right here during that spin. There's a hole at the very beginning of that skill, of this skill. Also, the skill lingers. So all this animation right here until my character gets back into this posture is actually super armor. So all this is super armor, super armor, super armor, super armor, super armor, super armor, super armor. I lose the super armor there. So it lingers, and that's a very important function or mechanic to learn as Striker. Next skill, we have Rage Hammer. This is also a protected skill that does CC in the form of Bound. This also does pretty good damage if you have a lot of AP and you have this leveled up all the way, which I would highly suggest. So you have the Rage Hammer skill in the same way that Mass Destruction lingers. When you get back into this posture, you are unprotected, but everything leading up into that is lingering super armor. That's Rage Hammer. Crouching Wolf is the next skill that you want to cycle. And that right there is super armor. This is protected, including the dash backwards. It is protected. It is important to note that the dash backwards right at the very end, right when you stand still for a sec, that is unprotected. What I mean by that is this is protected, right there it's unprotected, right at the end there for a very brief moment. That is unprotected. But Crouching Wolf is also a skill that you need to learn how to cycle in to continue your super armor rotation. The next skill that we're going to learn how to cycle is the flash step, or the dash, and the side step. Silent step, rather. The official name is silent step and flash step. Both of these skills, when used off cooldown, are actually iframes. They are not super armors. So that's important to know. When you use this skill off of cooldown, which you can if you have martial spirit shards, then off of cooldown it is a super armor. So this is an iframe. I use that again, consuming the martial spirit shards. That is a super armor, not an iframe, sorry. The next thing is if I use flash step in my awakening, and this skill, I have this skill unlocked, double flash, it allows me to dash forward 3 times on a 15-second cooldown. Double flash is a super armor. It is not an iframe. The last protected skill that you can use to cycle is Hidden Claw, which is S left mouse button. Now this skill is unprotected except for the little dash back there. So if I can cancel the Hidden Claw, and I'm just gonna have that little dash back. When I use that off of cooldown, it's actually an iframe, much like the Crouching Wolf dash back. It's a short little dash back, short little hop back, I should say rather, that is protected. Between all of these skills, you need to learn how to cycle these to stay protected. As you can see, all of this is super armor. All of this is super armor. I've stayed protected throughout this entire duration so far. Everything that you have seen so far, this is all super armor. As you can see, I'm cycling this, this, and this more than anything, with a couple of flash steps in there, and that is completely protected outside of the minor holes that are in the skills. Engaging with Striker is actually pretty simple. I'm going to go over the 3 main ways that you engage with this class. The first one is a flash step. This is this is probably the main way. Now you're going to go flash step into mass destruction or twisted. This engagement is the most common way of engaging with a striker. You can cancel into the mass destruction by using Fist of True Strength. Now if you land the Fist of True Strength right here, which is flash step into left mouse button, this is actually a knock back. And the Fist of True Strength portion of it, that little punch, is actually unprotected. So the reason why we do that is because if we go flash step into mass destruction, you see that little hesitation there, that little pause between the flash step and the mass destruction, or even flash step into twisted, there's a little pause there. Twisted being the uppercut that you just saw, twisted collision. If we can cancel and transition into those skills much faster and tighten the window of vulnerability by canceling using this skill Fist of True Strength. So it's going to look like this. Now that was a slow transition, just so that you guys can see. Now if we cancel this faster, it will look like this. The next effective engagement that a striker has is twisted, which is your Q, into F, which is Nimbus Strike. This skill right here. This twisted is a frontal guard skill and floats. It also floats. If you follow twisted into Nimbus, that is protected. When you land, you are unprotected. You are unprotected. You can flow this into a Skull Crusher if you would like to tighten the window of vulnerability, or you could also go straight into another skill such as Rage Hammer, but you are vulnerable the second you hit the ground. As you can see, the window of vulnerability is much smaller when you flow straight into Skull Crusher, which is just holding F down. Q to F and then holding F will take you into Skull Crusher. The last engage to note is Wolf's Hunger. This is kind of taking a risk because this skill is unprotected. It is protected when you are invisible. It is not protected during your kicking motion. Skill looks like this. Now you can cancel this skill after charging it up or after each kick. So it is a very good way to actually engage, and then pan your camera and hit S to try and cancel. S is what cancels the Wolf's Hunger. This is a little bit more of a gambling skill because it is unprotected. You can be grabbed out of it, and you can be CC'd during your kicking animation. Disengaging is pretty simple. You have your Rabam skill, Backstep, which I personally think that every striker should be using. You get plus 15 magic DP and 30% movement speed. It is another iframe. Between this and your 2 flash steps and your hitting claw, it is the only iframes that you have. So this is the main iframe on a fairly short cooldown. This is going to be your #1 skill for disengaging, as well as your flash steps, silent steps. The other skill that is used to disengage is actually Ferocious Assault, which is forward, right mouse button in your awakening stance. This skill used to have lingering super armor. It does not anymore. So it is dangerous when you land. Every skill that a striker has, every skill that a striker has where you go aerial in the air, when you land on the ground, you are unprotected. Ferocious assault is a very good way to get out of fights. If you engage, let's say the Skull Crusher you use, it's going to put you in your pre-awakening kit, or your awakening kit rather. You can just monkey jump, aka monkey jump, or ferocious assault out. So how do we put all of this together? How do you catch targets, seeing as that is the most important aspect of BDO, is landing that CC. If you want to win, if you're a new player and you don't know, or if you're an older player that you should know this, to win fights in PvP, you need to catch someone with a CC. In order to do that with Striker, you are going to be relying on the following skills. Mass Destruction. This is a super armor protected stun. Rage Hammer. This is a super armor protected bound. Grab. This is a super armor protected knockdown. It is a grab, and the form of CC the target eats is a knockdown, which is the longest CC duration in the game. It's important to know that you can cancel the grab by holding right mouse button, and he will only do 1 punch or 2 punches depending on when you want to cancel it. If you do not cancel, you will just do your standard 3 punch. 1, 2, 3. You cannot be CC'd during this. The next skill that we are going to be using to catch targets is Twisted Collision. This is a frontal guard with a float, and it has range. Mass Destruction, you have to be right next to the target. With Twisted Collision, this is our longest ranged CC that is protected. I can even CC from this distance, as you can see, there's a significant cushion there, not to the point where it is a massive cushion, where it's considered a long-range skill, but this is a pretty big cushion right there. And the Twisted does land. It does have some range. The next skill is your Wolf's Hunger skill. This skill is not protected unless your character disappears. During the kicking animation, it is unprotected. The reason why this is very effective at catching targets is because it catches them off of guard, and you do not have to move, seeing as it follows the target. Let's see if I can do that to a randomly moving target here. So you're going to see right here, I'm going to follow this target wherever he moves. This skill, when you land the first kick, it does not have any range limitations. So if you get in range to land the first kick and you teleport towards the target, even if the target that you are chasing is running away from you and is 20 meters away from you, your character will follow that character for the next 2 kicks. It is a very, very good way to sticking to a target. Most of your engagements will look like this. This is your flash step cancel into mass destruction for a stun catch. This is your flash step cancel into twisted. The other effective way of catching people is a simple dash to grab. Another very effective way of catching targets is by using your double flash, which is going to allow you to dash to the target 3 times. You can see how far away I am from this target. A lot of the times this will catch players off guard, and they will not expect such a fast grabbing gauge. Weapon swapping is also another important element to know as a striker, as it can get confusing. So we're just gonna go over the skills that you use that will swap you to your pre-awakening stance from awakening. Crouching Wolf, if it is on your hotbar when you use it, it takes you into your pre-awakening. Any raw bomb skill you have, I run perfect blow and backstep. Both these skills will swap you into your pre-awakening. Mass destruction is probably the main way or the most frequently used skill outside of Crouching Wolf that you will use to get into your pre-awakening. Twisted Collision can also be used in your awakening and will take you into your pre-awakening. Last but not least, your standard C swap. C swapping into pre-awakening is not protected. So if I'm in my awakening stance here and I C swap into my pre-awakening, that is not protected. It does not have any frontal guard. My C is actually swapped with 0, so that is why on the keypad you see 0. So for me it would be S or W 0. The last notable swap for your pre-awakening to get into pre-awakening would be your massive suppression, your grab, that you can use in your awakening stance if your awakening grab is locked. You can use your pre-awakening grab in your awakening stance, and that will also swap you to your pre-awakening stance. The awakening swaps are actually very simple. It is simply just Skull Crusher. You can use Skull Crusher on the hotbar when you are in your pre-awakening stance, and that will take you to your awakening stance. The other way to swap into your awakening stance is by simply C swapping, forward C or SC, or in my case 0. That will also swap you, and it is a frontal guard. It is protected when you are going into your awakening stance. Another thing that you need to know are the vulnerabilities of Striker. I did mention a few of these things in the other parts of the video while we're going over the skills individually, but I think that this deserves its own section because it is important to know the vulnerabilities of the Striker. Number 1, there is a hole at the very beginning of mass destruction during that spin part. During that spin part right there, there's a little bit of a hole. You can use mass destruction off of cooldown, but when it is on cooldown, you can use it, but it is not protected and it will not stun when you use this during its cooldown stage. But there is a small hole at the very beginning of mass destruction. There's also a hole at the very end of silent step there that can be punished, as well as flash step. There are holes that can be punished because they are unprotected frames. Crouching Wolf into the backstep. Right at the end of the backstep, you can be CC'd, and that is also something that opens up counterplay, a vulnerable state for the Striker that you should know. Lastly, any skill that takes Striker into the air is going to be unprotected the moment they hit the ground. Nimbus. The moment I hit the ground, I am unprotected. If I hit Q, hold right mouse button, go into strike through or landslide, left mouse button. These skills are also unprotected when you hit the ground. While you are in the air, you are protected. However, the moment you hit the ground, you are unprotected. These two skills, strike through and landslide, are dangerous in my opinion and should be used situationally only when you know what you're doing. A lot of novice strikers actually rely on this skill, and it is actually very effective to catch people that don't know the Striker kit. However, the better players are going to be punishing these skills all day. One more thing I want to mention about the Striker class is the lack of iframes. Striker has so much access to super armor that, especially in the lower AP brackets, it seems like they are just absolutely god tier. Just very, very difficult to see them. Non-grab classes just don't do enough damage. They can't out-trade them because Strikers are naturally tankier. But when you get to the higher AP brackets, a lot of that changes, and it's precisely the reason why Strikers begin to fall off significantly. Now, I don't want to make it seem like Striker is underpowered by any means, but a lot of people are unaware of how much weaker a striker is. Don't get me wrong, strikers are still very, very strong late game. You know, when they start getting to the higher AP brackets, they could deal a significant amount of pressure themselves. However, when it comes to tanking damage, it becomes a different game. Here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Here's a little 1v1 skirmish I had out in the open world with a Musa, and this Musa at the time had around somewhere between 270 to 275 AP. I was at soft cap DP. You can see here I actually grab a mob by mistake, and during my grab animation, all of that is obviously protected. I don't even survive the animation of the grab before he burns me down, and I'm not even CC'd, I'm not even grounded. This is just pure trade through super armor. This should give you a little bit more perspective on what it would be like late game as a striker. You won't be able to just rotate your super armors all day and tank all the damage in the world. It only takes one Musa or one Sork or one whoever, whatever class, to burn you down through a slower animation. So for those of you who are brand new to the striker class, you're probably going to have questions in regards to the Preawakening kit for both PvE and PvP. So if we're going to start with the PvE first, the main combo you're going to actually be doing is in the Crimson Fang tree, this tree right here. Okay, there's two ways you can flow from Crimson Fang. I get really comfortable at doing this. Crimson Fang is your shift right mouse button here, and if you hold LMB, it's going to be this tree right here. Into finally, and the final skill of this tree will be Final Blow. Okay, and then the third tree, or the second tree rather, is your Death Strike. This is a DP debuff that you actually use in PvP, even end game. But as far as grinding goes, it's going to be Shift RMB, Crimson Fang, into Explosive Blow, into Final Blow here, by just holding down LMB, and it looks like this. Now this does really good damage for the Preawakening grind as you level up to 56 to try and get awakened. The other notable skills that you're going to be using will be Rage Hammer, which is Shift Q, as well as Roaring Tiger, which also heals you, by the way. It gives you a heal on activate, which is LMB RMB. And then you could also use what I call the Hadouken skill, Wolf Fang, right here. If you hold it, it charges, but there's really no point in holding it, as it does essentially, it does pretty much the same damage by just casting it, not holding it. So those are your main skills you're going to be grinding with, pretty much. I mean, there are a lot of, I know that this looks pretty intimidating here. There's a lot of skills, and it seems like everything flows with each other. But as a basic staple, if you're just trying to grind, that's what you're going to be doing. Crimson Fang to Death Blow, Roaring Tiger, Rage Hammer. I personally didn't actually use this too much, the Hadouken skill, Wolf Fang. Especially when you get your Martial Spirit Shards up here. When you have this at max, you could either spend it on Crouching Wolf, which is going to give you a 20% attack speed buff instead of 10%. It also does a little damage. Or you could use it on Wolf Fang, and this does pretty good damage when it's at max. As far as the PvP goes, guys, I would honestly say try not to PvP. I would just really focus on getting awakened first. This video is being made around the time that the Xbox is getting Striker, so you'll probably have to play Pre-Awakened Striker for a week or so before the Awakening comes out. If that's the case, it's actually a good opportunity to learn Striker. However, just know that you won't do any damage, and that's okay. I remember when I first played this class during its awakening state, or during the pre-awakening state before the awakening came out, I was kind of questioning how much damage a striker really does. All the damage is in its awakening kit, so be aware of that. Most of its utility is in the pre-awakening. All the damage is in the awakening. So with that said, it kind of goes back to the Preawakening PvE. Your combo, Crimson Fang to Explosive Blow, will do good damage, as well as your Rage Hammer and your Roaring Tiger. That's pretty much what you want to mess around with. Now, catching people with Twisted to Nimbus. The engages are pretty similar as most of your engages. As stated in the previous sections of this video, it's in your Preawakening kit. But you probably will also use Strike Through and Landslide a little bit more as well. But just know, obviously, the vulnerabilities and the unprotected frames that come with that territory. But if you actually get a catch, just, you know, if you have teammates, let them do the damage. If not, then you're probably going to be relying just on those 3 skills, and you can mess around with it. As the Crimson Fang tree does have a knockdown to extend your CC here. You have a stiffness from Crimson Fang, as well as the explosive blow that will be the second knockdown. So you will have a long CC change. Final blow is going to give you a chance to down smash, as well as Roaring Tiger, which also has a chance to down smash. So if you actually open with a grab, then you can just follow that into Crimson, into the Crimson Tree, into Roaring Tiger. Really, there's not much you can do. Can you min-max it a little bit better? Yes, you can, but I'll be perfectly honest. Like, the amount of damage that you're going to be min-maxing, there's not going to be a huge significant change, unless, of course, if you have 3 Martial Spirit Shards, then I would definitely throw in a Wolf Fang in there, or even a you could even do a knee hammer to Rock Smash here. I actually have it locked because there's just no point in using this when you get awakened. This right here, it actually has a lingering super armor there and does pretty good damage if you have all your Martial Spirit Shards. So if you are PvPing and you absolutely have to, I would just spend that time, since you are a newer player, I would spend that time just getting used to the controls. I wouldn't expect to try and burst anyone down. I would just use it to try and get really comfortable with your engages and your catches that that we've talked about in the previous sections of this video. To round this video out, I want to go over a few notable tips that I think are going to be very useful for you guys. The first tip is to hotbar Crouching Wolf and locking it. Okay, and the reason why we do this is not locking Crouching Wolf will allow you to use the space bar after a skill that will do the Crouching Wolf for you. Now, if you're in your Awakening stance, this is my Awakening stance here, and I use it, this right there is the awakened version of Crouching Wolf. Okay, so the animation is different, and back in the day, this actually used to be slower and clunkier. So everyone would actually lock it so that they could do the pre-awakened version of Crouching Wolf. Notice that I stay in my Awakening stance. Now, I always have the option to just hit the hotbar version of this. If I hit Crouching Wolf, sorry, let me rephrase that. If I hit Crouching Wolf from my hotbar, I will use the pre-awakened version, and this will allow me to go straight into my pre-awakening stance. The things that I would like you to notice here is that the pre-awakened version of Crouching Wolf, first, it has a bigger drop back versus the awakened version. Okay, if we use the awakened version, sorry, let me do that again. If we use the awakened version here, you can see it's not as far. The range is a little bit shorter. There's a little FPS lag there, sorry. It's a little bit shorter compared to the pre-awakening version of Crouching Wolf. Also, the amount of time that you have to do that drop back, there's less lingering time on the awakened version. Okay, if I do this and I hit S, I can't do it. I have to hit S immediately. I'll do that again. right there. See, I hit S a little bit late and I didn't do it, versus the pre-awakened version, I could really linger that. The pre-awake version, you can see that I can linger this much longer, almost until right before I'm about to get back into my regular combat stance here. What do? I prefer to lock this and hotbar it. Even if I don't lock it, doesn't matter. I don't like to hit space for my crouching wolf. I always hotbar it. There's really no difference in speed from my experience. No significant speed. I mean, I haven't done thorough testing. I guess it could be, but really, like, it's a lot of the reasons why you want to hit the regular key inputs instead of the hotbar versions is because it's not as fast on the hotbar. I just really haven't found that to be the case, noticeably with crouching wolf. So I will actually always just leave this on the hotbar. I also think it's really important to have this on your hotbar in order to not only be more mobile to do the dash back, but also to get into your pre-awakening stance from awakening. That's one of the key swaps for me personally, to get back into your pre-awakening. Another notable tip here is to hotbar your Skull Crusher. If you have this on your hotbar, it allows you to use it in your pre-awakening stance, and it will take you into awakening. This is the flow that will get us into awakening. You could also do it by holding F down after Nimbus, or even after Strike Through or Landslide. Strike Through or Landslide, again, Nimbus. Sorry, Nimbus is the F skill, the little flying kick there after Twisted. And then Strike Through is right mouse button after Twisted. Landslide is LMB, left mouse button after Twisted here. So you can go right into Skull Crusher. Any aerial attack like that, you can go into Skull Crusher. So that is also something that you guys should definitely do, hotbarring Skull Crusher. The third tip, this is probably the most important one in my opinion, is to lock your awakening grab. I see so many people not locking this and doing a hellbreak grab from their awakening stance instead of massive suppression, which is the pre-awakening grab. This pre-awakening grab kicks the shit out of the awakening grab in every single way. The only advantage that the awakening grab has is that you get 30% grab resist by using this, which is actually really good, but in every other way it's just not good. It's not protected, and the CC that it applies is a bound, which is a shorter CC duration than knockdown, which is what your pre-awakening grab does. Now, by locking this doesn't mean that you can't use it. Hotbar it. It's set to my #1 key right now on my hotbar. This will allow you to be in your awakening stance, and if I hit E, I will use my pre-awakening grab. If I'm in my awakening stance and this is on cooldown, I can still use the hotbar and click 1 for me and still do that grab. So you actually have access to both grabs by hotbarring and locking the Hellbreak, the awakening grab. So this is a must. Another tip that's worth noting is the Stalking Wolf catch. So that's going to be in your pre-awakening kit. When you go knee hammer, if you go knee hammer into Stalking Wolf, which is knee hammer would be Shift LMB into WF forward F, Stalking Wolf to a non-target, it looks like this. When you do that to a target that has lock, it's actually a mini teleport. So knee hammer is already going to be a little mini gap closer, and then you can see right there the Stalking Wolf will actually gap close there, and you can actually catch people off guard as it's really, really quick, and you can catch a lot of ground by doing that. Now, it is important to note that both of these skills are unprotected. Both of these skills are unprotected, knee hammer and Stalking Wolf. It's just used to catch ground and stick to your target. Personally, I don't actually use this too often, especially with Absolute Wolf's Hunger. Well, Wolf's Hunger, doesn't matter if it's absolute. But in general, I just don't like to use skills that are unprotected. But this is something that is definitely worth at least trying and maybe using situationally, as it's something that can catch someone off guard. Another notable lock is actually Tornado Kick. I prefer to keep this skill locked. If you do not have it locked, then if you hold down F after certain skills, like for example Skull Crusher, it'll actually flow into the Tornado Kick. I actually don't like this, as it actually procs a float and can kind of mess up combos. Although at the end of the day, if you do have full control over your game, then I guess it would be technically a non-issue. People actually like using Tornado Kicks in their combos, as it could do some pretty decent damage. Personally, I just don't like doing it. I feel like it's unnecessary, especially when coming to min-maxing combos. There's a lot of really good combos with it, but again, I just prefer to not use skills that are unprotected. Although, you know, if it's a 1v1, if you already have them CC'd, it doesn't matter. But it's definitely something you certainly don't need, especially with all the other good combos that strikers have. You just don't need it. Personally, I like to keep it locked so that I don't accidentally float into this by holding F down after some skills, but that is my personal preference. The last thing I want to mention is to please check out the Striker Discord. Everything that you need to know in regards to Striker, it's there. Tips, combos, gear, just everything. Everything is in there, and you could communicate with those people directly. It is where I got all of my information. It's the guidance that I had. The guidance that I had learning Striker was all from that Discord. So they have everything really organized in there, and a lot of people that are masters of this class, it can really help you understand what Striker is all about. So I would highly suggest any one of you guys to join that Discord. And the Discord is linked in the description below, so please check it out. I'm also in that Discord, so you can find me in that Discord if you want to contact me directly, or just leave a comment in the comment section below. So I'm going to conclude this video with a view of my skill add-ons. I get asked what add-ons that I use on my Striker quite a bit. There's no one way to do it. There's flexibility with these add-ons. If you want to know more, I would definitely check out the Striker Discord again, as they have a full section for the add-ons with descriptions and opinions and everything that you need to know in regards to those add-ons in their Discord. So with that said, I'm out. See you guys.